So, good morning, children. So, today in this lecture, we are starting chapter number 4, History, Class 8, Tribal, the Goose, and the Vision of Golden Age. In this chapter, we will see about the different types of tribal groups, what are the forest laws, and how trade leads to battle. We'll see what problems did Birsa set out to solve. Who were the outsiders? How did they enslave the people of this area? What was happening to the forest people under the British? How did it change their lives? So let's see. It will be clear from the chapter. Now, who are tribals? The tribal societies in India have different customs and rituals. They differ from those laid down by the Brahmins. The tribal society did not have sharp social divisions of upper and lower caste, unlike the caste driven societies of the people in towns and villages. Those belonging to the same tribe share common types of kinship, but this did not mean that there were no social and economic differences with those tribes. How did the tribal groups live? So, actually, who are tribal people? Tribal people are those Adivasis or forest people. They used to dwell in forest. Their occupation, their living, everything is related to forest only. They used to do jhum cultivation. What is jhum cultivation? It is also known as shifting cultivation. In this type of cultivation is usually found in the forest and hilly areas. Some were hunters, some were gatherers. They hunted deer, pig, etc. for their livelihood, for their survival. Some were herders. Many tribals lived by herding and grazing animals. They are nomads. Problems of British with shifting cultivation. They wanted shifting cultivators to settle down and became peasants. As people engaged in shifting cultivation move around a lot, so calculating tax is very hard. Settle cultivation in those areas where water was scarce. Jhum cultivators who were forced to take up settle cultivation suffered because their field hardly gave good yields. So these are the problem here. Shifter cultivation wanted to settle down and become peasants. People engaged in shifting cultivation move around a lot, so calculating tax is very hard. Britishers faced problem because they used to move from one to other place for the agriculture, and they lost taxes because of this. Settle cultivation in those areas where water was scarce. Settle cultivation is really very difficult when there is a water scarcity. We cannot do the agriculture. And in jhum cultivation, who were forced to take up settle cultivation suffered because in the same field you cannot utilize it again and again for growing crops. It lost its fertility. So you can see the picture of shifting cultivation. Here the patch of the forest is clear and it's a natural way of farming. The seeds are scattered over there, and after the farmers wait for the natural rain, and this is the way of their agriculture. And when they harvest, then they shift to another field for the agriculture. How did colonial rule affect our lives? During pre-colonial time, tribal chiefs enjoyed many administrative and influence rights, but during the colonial period, there was a loss of power for the tribal chiefs. They had to obey British laws, and government restricted the rights of the tribal chiefs. So their authority, their importance has been lost. They have to be under the Britishers. They have to obey British laws. And this is the reason of the battle. What happened to the shifting cultivators? They wanted the tribals to settle down. British government wanted tax, therefore they wanted tribals to settle down, as it is easier to calculate tax. They wanted that they should not move from one field to another, so they cannot able to collect tax from them. Settled cultivation was not successful where water is scarce and soil is dry. Facing widespread protests, the British had to ultimately allow them to right to carry on shifting cultivation in some parts of the forest. When Britishers are not successful, and so there's a wide protest for that, the Britishers ultimately allow them to right to carry on shifting cultivation. Forest law and their impact. Now, what is forest law? It is a very harsh law. The British extended their overall forest and declared that forest was state property. Some forests were classified as reserve forest, which was used to produce timber, which the British wanted. Forcefully, the timber was grown there, and Britishers thought that the forest were their state property. The colonial official allowed some lands for human cultivation, that they would provide labor for the forest department for looking after the forest. Only the way they allowed them was that they can do the agriculture only when they do the free labor. So you can see that how they are using them and how they are exploiting them, and they are totally harassed. What is the impact? Many tribal groups reacted against the colonial forest law because from the beginning they are living in the forest, there are sacred groves, all the livelihoods are there, and still the Britishers are telling them to move away. They disobeyed the new rules, continued with the practices that were declared illegal. Such was the revolt of Songran Sangam of 1906 in Assam. Many people, for example, like money lenders, traders, were purchasing raw goods and lending money. These traders made huge profit, but only a meagre amount reached the producers. So these traders have a huge profit, and the main cultivators do not have any profit. The condition of people who went to town for work was not also better. They moved to work there, but the condition was not better. They were paid low wages and prevent them from returning home. They are in as plantation workers or making roads, or anywhere they used to do labor and work, mining factories. The working conditions are very poor and they cannot able to return home. Throughout the 19th and 20th century, tribal rebelled against the forest. So tribal people rebel against the forest. Now this is too much now. 19th and 20th century, tribal people thought this is the time that they should be against the forest law, because mainly the forest is their own property, not of Britishers. The Kolas rebel was there in 1831-32. Santals rose in revolt in 1855. The Bastar rebellion in central India broke out in 1910. So everywhere you can see the revolt is there against Britishers. Worli revolt in Maharashtra on 1940. So every state, everywhere the tribal community used to revolt. Now the entry of the Birsa Munda. Who is the Birsa Munda? An immortal legacy. He is the incarnation of God. In 1895, Birsa urged his followers to recover the past glory, a golden age. The tribal held their heads high. They remembered that how in the past the golden vision was there, how innocent the people were there, how the truth and non-violence they are accepting. He talked of the golden past when Mundas led a good life, constructed embankment, trapped natural springs, planted trees, orchards, practiced cultivation to earn their living. So they are very near to nature. And there is a peace. As the movement spread, the British officials decided to act. They arrested Birsa in 1895, convicted him on the charges of rioting, and jailed him for 2 years. The Birsa, who has a healing power, who is the incarnation of God, who is the hero of tribal peoples, fought bravely for their community. Ultimately, he was arrested in 1895, and he has been convicted for charges of rioting and jailed him for 2 years. When Birsa was released in 1897, he began to gather support against the British by using traditional methods. They attacked police stations, churches, and raided the property of moneylenders and zamindars. They raised the white flag as a symbol of Birsa Raj. But in 1900, Birsa Munda died of cholera and the movement faded out. So this is the way the hero who bought revolt and make this community proud, but later on he died. So this is the picture of the Birsa Munda. So what is the significance of the Birsa movement? It shows that a tribal could protest against injustice and express their dissatisfaction over the colonial rule. It introduced laws that the government could not take away the lands of the tribals. So what are the questions here? What did Birsa Munda refer to the golden age? What happened to Jhum cultivators during the colonial period? What happened to the tribal chief during the colonial period? How are the lives of the tribal affected by the laws imposed by the colonial government? How were the tribal exploited by the colonial officers? In what ways was the movement of Birsa Munda significant? So MCQ based question also. The British described the tribal people as, the method of sowing seeds in Jhum cultivation is known as, the tribal chiefs got dash titles in the central India under the British settlement. Tribal went to work in the dash of Assam and the dash in Bihar. Birsa was arrested in dash year on charges of rioting and jailed him for 2 years. So read the topic carefully and you can easily, NCERT also, and you can easily answer these questions. So thank you so much, children. I hope you understand the chapter. I hope you understood the chapter.